Savannah. I brought you a sandwich. Thanks. But before you can have it, you have to tell me how pretty and perfect I am. Tiffany flipped her hair and twirled around. We were only kids, and now that I look back, I wonder how they learned to be so cruel at such a young age. Get a life, Tiffany! She threw the sandwich on the ground and stepped on it. I rolled my eyes and walked away. Everyone at school knew how poor I was, and I was sick of it. They saw me sitting alone at lunchtime eating nothing. And while some people felt sorry for me, there were morons like Tiffany who just used my poverty to feel better about herself. So next week, my family and I are going on a cruise. Wow, awesome! That's something Savannah will never experience, right? Yeah, right! I hated being poor. But later on, I'd become really rich. And I hated that too. Make sure you keep watching to find out how. My parents weren't always poor. My dad came from a rich family, actually. But when he was about 20 years old, he got into a fight with my grandpa. He left and swore he'd never go back to his parents' house again. So I've never met my grandparents. Can you believe that? Then one afternoon after school, I got home and everyone was smiling. What's going on? Did someone win the lottery? No, Savannah, but close. What do you mean? Your grandpa died! How is that good? He left your dad $1 million! Wow!
Yes, but actually I'm a bit upset because he could have left me more. It's because I'm his least favorite child.
Instead of blowing it all at once, my dad contacted an investor friend, and after a few years, that million had grown into $1 billion. I don't really understand how they did it because I'm still not good with numbers and stuff like that. We went from rags to filthy rich, and it happened just in time though because I was in the middle of my first year at high school and I was having a horrible time. We're going to move to Washington, D.C. Why?
I just always wanted to live there.
And we were off. There we upgraded to a very comfortable mansion in a super wealthy neighborhood. Then my parents decided that I had to go to the best school possible. They went searching for a few days and came home with exciting news one night.
You're going to go to school with the president's daughters.
What?
Yes, the tuition fees are ridiculous, but we're filthy rich now, so it doesn't matter. Can you imagine the PTA meetings with the president? I'm so excited.
Calm down, Dad. So, as you can tell by now, my life changed drastically. I went from being the poor kid with no food to the one who socialized with some of the richest, most important people in the country. And this felt great for a long time. Most of the people at my school were really nice to me. It was kinda odd because I was so accustomed to annoying high schoolers being super mean to each other. But here, that wasn't the case. I quickly made two best friends. Adola was from Nigeria, and her dad owned a massive oil production company. Then there was Benita, who is from India. Her parents were both engineers. We'd hang out after school almost every day, and whenever they'd talk about their childhoods, I couldn't help but feel a bit envious since I was poor and didn't get to have much fun. I never let them know this though. They thought I always lived in a mansion in Washington and that my parents had always been super rich, just like theirs. Just as I was settling down into my new, perfect life, my dad started acting really strange. One night when we were having dinner, he broke some interesting news to us.
So, I bought a zoo.
You did what?
Well, it's more like an animal sanctuary. It's 3 states away though, so I'm having the animals moved over here.
Where are you going to put them?
I already started building the facility. I can take you to see it. The drive will only take 1 or 2 hours.
Dad, why did you do this?
I don't know, I've just always wanted to help animals, and now I have enough money to do it, so why not?
After a few months, the sanctuary was all set up and we went to visit. There were tons of animals there, and my dad looked super excited.
Guess what, Savannah?
What?
You're going to be working here every vacation.
But why? I don't even like animals. And I was planning on going to camp with my friends.
I'm sorry, honey, but I'm not going to have you growing up like those spoiled brats. You're going to have to learn what hard work is so that you never take our riches for granted.
And so I spent my entire summer picking up zebra and lion poop. It was awful. But when September came, I was excited because I wouldn't have to do that for a while. Unfortunately, my dad had another ridiculous dinner announcement.
I bought them all.
The one downtown?
Yes, it's mine.
But why?
Well, while we were poor, we never imagined being able to buy anything from a mall. Didn't that suck? Well, now we own it.
So I can just take whatever I want from any store?
No, that's not how it works. You'll be working at the ice cream store there after school, though.
Dad! No! Why?
I told you you'd have to learn how to work hard. I'm not raising a spoiled child. You've got to learn what it means to work hard.
I was so annoyed at my new job the next week. The owner of the ice cream shop was really nice, but I kept messing up on purpose so I could get fired. I never put the ice cream on the cones correctly, so half the time they fell off when I gave them to the customers. That means I wasted a lot of ice cream. Then another time, I left the freezer open and everything melted. But the owner refused to fire me. I wanted to cry. This was already ridiculous enough, but do you want to know the next weird thing my dad told us at dinner?
I'm getting plastic surgery.
So am I. We are going to look so young and hot again. What? No! Mom! Dad! You look perfect the way you are. You don't need to change yourselves. Wait till you start getting wrinkles. Then you'll understand. And in a flash, my parents transformed before my eyes. They went from okay-looking people in their late 40s to super good-looking 20-year-olds. To be honest, although I was skeptical about this, they actually looked pretty good. But nothing could prepare me for what was about to happen next. I noticed that my mom and dad were both acting pretty strange the next few months. My mom always went outside to answer her phone, and she came back inside blushing. My dad disappeared for hours sometimes, and he'd come back smelling like sweet perfume. I assumed he was probably at his mall trying different perfumes at the perfume store. Then, after a while, my parents hardly spoke to each other, and I couldn't understand why. Then, one random Tuesday at school, it all made sense. A boy 2 grades below me came to sit with me, Adiola, and Benita at lunchtime, and stared at me like he was upset. Firstly, who are you? And secondly, what are you mad about? He took out his cell phone and showed me a picture of my dad, holding another woman around her waist, looking totally mesmerized.
Is this your dad?
Yes. Who is that woman in the picture?
That's my mom. I wanted to ask you to ask him to please leave her alone. I'm not ready for a stepfather. It's only been 3 years since my dad passed.
What do you mean leave her alone? What have they been up to?
You didn't know?
Of course I didn't. I have no idea what's going on. Are they having an affair?
Affair? They seem to be in a relationship. Your dad is always at my house.
I was furious. I asked him to send me the picture, and as soon as I got home, I confronted my dad. Who is this woman, and what were you doing?
Oh, Sheila? That's my girlfriend.
Does Mom know about this? How could you? You ridiculous man! You son of Savannah! How dare you talk to your father like that? Mom! He's cheating!
Okay, sit down, honey. We weren't sure how to say this to you, but the truth is that we've both been cheating on each other for a while now.
Why? Well, after our surgery, we just felt like new people again. I wanted to see if I could still get asked out. And your dad? Well, I think he's going through a midlife crisis. Either way, I've been casually dating lots of hot guys, and your dad has been dating Sheila. So what's the point of living together if you're not going to be faithful? Well, we were considering a divorce, but we decided to stay together for you. While taking deep breaths to control my anger and frustration, I explained to my parents that I did not need them to stay together for me. Our talk lasted a few hours, and at the end, they reached a resolution. They were going to get a divorce. Mom and I stayed in the Washington mansion so I could finish school, and my dad bought a penthouse somewhere. For a while, it was difficult to deal with. And if you've ever dealt with divorced parents, you know what I mean. But something cheered me up a bit, and that was an invitation from 2 of the most popular girls, Tamara and Shayla. They found me in the library while I was studying for a test and asked me to meet them the next day at 6. Now, don't get me wrong, I was fine with my ordinary friends, but because of what I'd been through in the past, it really made me feel special that some of the most popular people saw me as someone. The next day, I waited for them in the same spot in the library. Hey, so you might find this a bit weird, but we're actually part of a club and we have meetings once a week. We have a meeting tonight and we'd like you to join. Okay. Where is it? At Trent's house. His parents are never home. Trent was like the king of the school. Every girl wanted him and every guy wanted to be like him. And now I was invited to his house? That was crazy! So I followed Tamara and Shayla, and when we got to Trent's house, about 10 people were already sitting in the living room.
Have a seat, Savannah,
said Trent. I sat down and listened to them having their meeting. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced. It was like some kind of popularity convention where they spoke about how to keep being popular and what new trends they'd like to start. So, Savannah, Tamara said at the end, do you want to join us? Sure. This seems great.
You'll rise to popularity really quick, but there is a catch.
What's that?
To join this club, you're going to have to go through some kind of initiation.
What do I have to do?
You have to record yourself doing something really embarrassing. Then the recording has to be played here in front of everyone.
Okay. Do I decide what the embarrassing thing should be?
No, we'll let you know on the day.
I went home really excited, and it was all I could think about until the day came. Shayla walked up to me and gave me a brown paper bag filled with something that smelled awful. What's that? Cow dung! Where did you even get that? And what do you want me to do with it? Smear it all over the walls in the hallway. Don't forget to record. I figured that was easy enough, and I waited for everyone to leave at the end of the day before I got started. Put on gloves, set up the camera on my phone, and smeared the dung all over the walls. When I was done, I took off the gloves, washed my hands, and made sure the recording was saved. Later that night, I got a message from Tamara asking me to send her the video. I didn't think twice about sending it to her. I thought that she'd want to see it before it was played at the meeting. But this was the biggest, stupidest mistake I'd ever made. Because the next day at school, everyone looked at me like I was insane. And then I was called into the principal's office.
Savannah, we were very happy to let you into our school, but this recent behavior has us asking questions.
What are you talking about, sir? He took out his phone and played the video of me smearing dung all over the walls.
I'm sorry, but this is not something we can tolerate at this school. Who is going to clean all of this? The school smells disgusting. I will call your mother and inform her that you are hereby expelled.
No! Shayla and Tamara made me do it! It's not my fault! I tried to persuade him to let me stay, but he wouldn't listen at all. My mom was nearly in tears when she heard what I had done. Later, I found out that Tamara and Shayla were jealous of me, and they made up everything just to get me to ruin my reputation. Even if I had stayed at that school, everyone would have regarded me as that crazy cow dung girl, and it would have been back to square one, being an unpopular loner again. I'm frustrated because none of this would have happened if my parents hadn't become billionaires. Our family fell apart, and now my perfect life at school was ruined too. Maybe riches aren't all that, after all. Her friends told her not to go in, but she insisted. They were already in the haunted house, so what was the point in going back? As she got closer to the door, they begged her to come back, but she wouldn't listen. She stretched forth her hands and opened the door. A bright light shone on all their eyes, and they woke up in their beds the next day with no memory of what had happened after Mary opened the master bedroom of the haunted house. They searched for Mary in her house, but her mom hadn't seen her either. Mary was never found until today. The street in front of the haunted house is still called Mary Street because she is believed to be haunting the street, begging and forcing people to join her in the haunted house. Thunder shook the room and lightning struck, making even me, the storyteller, almost pee my pants. We all formed a circle and hugged each other because at this point, we were more than scared. Chitty, is this really a true life story? Brenda asked, shaken. I'm just worried because I pass Mary Street in the haunted house all the time, but I've never heard the story. Do you think your mother was telling the truth? I laughed. Oh, of course she was. She was even friends with Mary, so she knew her personally. My friends looked like they'd just seen a ghost, making me laugh even harder. You guys are just a bunch of wimps. I made this story up in less than 2 seconds. I suspected that, Brenda said, breathing a sigh of relief. But that doesn't change the fact that nobody ventures close to the haunted house. Nobody. Not cops, not government officials, nobody. Now that is so freaking scary. Yeah, whatever. You guys should go to bed. I'm going to get a glass of milk. Please don't leave us, Kim shouted. I stared at her. What a wimp. Who should have been scared? A bunch of girls in a room? Or a little girl like me, walking down my huge mansion all alone to get a glass of milk? Stupid girl. Brenda? Yeah? Walk with me. Sure. I was hosting the Waldorf annual girls' sleepover. It happened only once a year in my mansion, and only a select few of the most popular, beautiful, rich, and lucky girls were chosen. Everyone worshipped the ground I walked on, so most of them would hurt themselves just to get me to acknowledge their presence. Imagine what they did to win a spot at the Waldorf annual girls' sleepover. I was that high school student that every girl wanted to be, and every boy wanted to date. I was the wealthiest student in school with the most connections. I threw the best parties, wore the most expensive and latest clothes. And every hairstyle my stylist designed for me was a statement, a precedent for all girls to follow. My friends were the coolest, people you couldn't reach even if you gave up your life for them. And my cars? Don't even let me get started on that. My mansion was the mansion that other mansions could only dream of being. If you didn't know Ginny Waldorf, then you definitely didn't know Barkery High. But that was just my exterior. The half of me, like Rihanna sang, my other half was a scared little girl, begging for her mother's attention, and only Brenda, my best friend, knew this part of me. Every other person thought I had everything, and honestly, I almost did. My mom was hardly ever at home or in the country, and when she was always too busy working on one project or the other. Of course, I appreciated her workaholism because I acknowledged that that was what made us so rich. But I just wished that sometimes she'd spare some time to spend with her only daughter and child. I did everything to gain my mother's attention. I read hard and aced all my subjects. I joined clubs and won competitions. As a matter of fact, I just excelled at everything I put my hands in. And although this made people fear, love, respect, and worship me more, it didn't seem to faze my mother. I won awards, but my mother never came to congratulate me. All she did was repost my stories on Instagram saying how proud she was of all my achievements. But she never called or appreciated my hard work in person. When I saw that being the best child in the whole world wasn't working, I decided to become the opposite. I became the mean, rich, popular kid in school, but for some reason, this didn't stop the kids in school from worshiping me. If anything, they loved me more because I was treating them with a stern hand and attitude. One of the ways I executed my meanness was through the Waldorf annual girls' sleepover. Something bad always happened to one of the girls who attended. They knew this, and they still struggled to be a part of it. Last 2 years, we forced Brenda to steal. We called the cops on her and left her to get arrested, but somehow convinced the cop that she owned the place and came back to my house with the stolen jacket. I couldn't believe it, so I appointed her as my best friend immediately. That girl was something, and it was better to keep her close. Last year, we tricked Fiona into using stolen test answers. She got busted and suspended. But guess what? She still attended the sleepover. I did your bidding. Now it's time for my pay. These girls were crazy, but I loved it, since it was all to my benefit anyway. Who's the target tonight? Brenda asked excitedly. I had created a monster. Who do you think? Kim? Exactly. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? If you're thinking of a particular haunted house, Then we should have come to this world as sisters. Brenda squealed. That's exactly what I was thinking. Whatever. She'd say the same thing even if that wasn't what she was thinking. Buttlickers. We poured a cup of milk for everyone, taking special care to highlight Kim's one. Then I went to the room, tray in hand. Hey girls! I decided to get you all glasses of milk too! I shared them myself and gave Kim the special one I made for her. Now drink up! I'll be waking you guys up in a couple of hours for something exciting! Oh, I can't wait! How nice of you to offer us drinks, Ginny! You're so considerate! That's Virginia to you, Kim. I clarified. Huh? Only friends call me Ginny? And you, Kimberly Boats, have not earned the right to call me Ginny just yet, so it's still Virginia to you. Her smile went upside down. Okay, Virginia. They finished drinking and Brenda set the cups downstairs to be washed immediately. We fell asleep and I woke the girls up exactly 2 hours later. The only person who couldn't get up was Kim, because Brenda and I had put sleeping pills in her milk. Okay, girls, so Kim is our victim tonight. You all got lucky. Now, let's get to work. The girls took a sigh of relief, happy that they weren't the victims this year, as I gave them the instructions for the night. We snuck Kim into the master bedroom of the haunted house in Mary Street and locked her inside before abandoning her there and coming back home to play games, eat, and watch movies. The sleeping pill would wear off in around 30 minutes to an hour, and Kim would wake up. She'd have the most horrifying night of her life when she encounters all the tricks, traps, mannequins, and illusions that I'd set up for her there. Only the strong at heart could survive me. The next day, Kim's mother called the police on me, but I just laughed when they arrived. My personal assistant immediately reached out to my mom, and after getting a phone call from their boss, the cops started leaving. It was just too funny. Even after hearing the terrible thing I'd done, my mother didn't bother calling me or warning me about my behavior. Honestly, I really wanted the cops to arrest me to get a little bit of attention from my mom. But with my mom's position, I knew that it couldn't happen. I started throwing crazy raves right in our mansion. They were usually so loud that half of the whole town could hear them. I skipped school and even tried getting arrested for vandalism. But the police quickly let me go once they saw my face. They were even scared and apologized for touching me in the first place. There was no way to reach my mom. My grades started dropping, and seeing how I'd been changing, our principal suggested that I start seeing a therapist. What could a therapist tell me that I didn't already know? Everything stemmed from my mom's refusal to acknowledge my presence. What else did I need to talk about? After pouring out my heart to my therapist at my first session, she asked me a question that really got me thinking. Why does your mom's attention have to be what determines how your life should go? This question kept ringing in my ears as I got into my limo and headed back home. I noticed something unusual when I arrived home. The houseworkers were running all around the house and someone was screaming at them. Wait, could Mom be back? I went upstairs to our executive chambers and I was shocked at the realization. Mom? Honey! Mom! I ran up to her and gave her a tight hug. Did she finally come to see me? What are you doing at home, Mom? Did you come to spend time with me? My mom laughed. Don't be silly, honey. We spend time together all the time through video calls. Why would I need to travel all the way here just to see you? I felt disappointment wash through my body. The last time you video called me was 2 years ago. Well, why haven't you been calling me then? I have, but your personal assistant always tells me that you're unavailable. No, silly little Mr. Peter, don't mind him. He's always occupied with so much work that I think, most times, he just forgets to remind me to call back. So sorry about that, honey. And it's so good to see you after such a long time. She hugged me tight, but this time, I didn't hug back. Why are you here then? Guess what, honey? The mayor has extended a personal request for us to host the town's Halloween party right here in our mansion. I'm so honored, and guess what? I want you to organize the party yourself. Aren't you elated? Of course. I'm screaming for joy, I said dryly. I left my mom to her party planning and she didn't even seem to notice that I was gone. A Halloween party that I'm in charge of. Seems like a perfect opportunity to come up with an evil scheme and finally get my mom's attention. At the very least, my mom appreciated my exceptional party-throwing skills, and I was happy about that. I accepted the job, but with an ulterior motive. It was time to pull off a grand scheme, Waldorf style. I met a couple of friends and we planned the whole thing out carefully. It was going to be mind-blowing. We hired toy guns that were filled with empty bullets, cars, masks, and some guys from our local gym that would make the best reality kidnapping movie in history. Let me see my mom ignore that. Yeah. Halloween finally came. Everything was in place and my mother did not suspect a thing. Why would she in the first place? It's not like she ever paid any attention. Cars had begun trooping in through our driveway, and truly, our mansion was really a sight to behold, especially in the evening radiance. I was a master party planner. Although my mom objected to it at first, I was able to convince her to wear the same outfit as me. I wanted her to easily be able to identify who was being kidnapped, since everyone had put on different costumes and it would be hard to tell who is who. I chose the infamous deli mask and the orange coverall with the event tagline, "A heist to remember," written all over it. At the stroke of 5, the party began, and what was mostly heard from the mouths of the guests was nothing but cheers and praises for the organizer of the party. My mom climbed on stage and gave an honorable speech, ending with praises for the best and most understanding daughter in the world. At this point, I started regretting my actions. Was this plan a good one? Maybe I should call it off. I ran to my friends, signaling them to end it, but at that very moment, my mom called me up to the stage so the crowd could behold her beautiful daughter. Caught up with all the attention, I forgot to make sure that my friends understood my signal. I looked at my watch and it was 9 p.m. when suddenly I got knocked out and woke up in a van. Guys! I called this heist off, and don't you think knocking me out was a little bit too much? I removed my mask and looked at the guys. I panicked when I realized they weren't my friends.
And who the heck are you? You're not Kim. Why are you wearing Kim's costume?
You wanted to kidnap Kim. Why?
None of your business, stranger.
They knocked me out again, and I woke up in front of my mansion to see people running out and gathering me. Oh my god, she's here! I found it hard to believe what was happening. Was I really kidnapped? My friends gathered me, confused. They got my signal and didn't go through with the plan, so they didn't understand what happened either. My mom ran to me with tears in her eyes, wailing loudly and vibrating visibly. Oh, my baby! I thought something terrible had befallen you. And the security guards that were beaten up by the kidnappers told us what happened. We tried everything and we couldn't locate you. I found it so hard to breathe. I'm never leaving your side again. Well, as you'd guess, my mom definitely left my side from time to time. But things got much better. After the incident, she changed her ways and started paying more attention to me, finally treating me like a daughter. That's all I ever wanted. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed my story. Aww, what a cute little girl. Here's $50. Don't you just want to pull her cheeks? Wow. Can I take a picture? Could you stop? My mom said and pulled me away from the strangers. This happened almost every time we went out. Apparently, I was really cute. And whenever people saw me, they'd either stop and stare or come over and try to talk to me. I didn't mind, but it seemed to annoy my mom every single time. I was an only child and lived with my mom and dad. My mom ignored me most of the time, but my dad adored me. I didn't even feel bad that my mom didn't give me much attention because everyone else did. Strangers showered me with affection and gifts, and my dad would sometimes play the role of both parents. This weird relationship with my mom eventually ruined my life, but you need to keep watching to find out how. As I grew up,
my mom started doing more than just ignoring me. She made an effort to be mean. I think I was in the 4th grade and Mother's Day was going to be soon. I made her something really beautiful in my sculpting class. It was a replica of a mother holding a child's hand. I remember spending the whole night trying to wrap it carefully so I could give it to her the next day. I decided to give it to her before breakfast. She was sitting in the living room looking at her phone and I approached her. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom." Thanks." She grabbed it, opened it, and stared at it like it was the ugliest thing she'd ever seen. "What is that? It's hideous!" She threw it on the floor and it broke. "Oops, that was an accident," she smirked. I ran to my room crying. She convinced my dad that it really was an accident, but I had seen her do it on purpose. It was only when I became a teenager that I realized that my mom was jealous of me. I was passing my parents' room one night and I heard them arguing. This was something they'd started to do a lot of. I listened through the door.
You're a crazy woman, and I'm sad it's taken me this long to realize.
"You're the worst husband on the planet!"
Well, at least I'm not jealous of my own child.
"Jealous? What are you talking about?"
You just can't stand the idea of anyone getting more attention than you. You changed since the day Sarah Lee was born, and you've become worse and worse.
"But you always treat her better than me! Everyone does! Even strangers on the street love her! Nobody loves me! I wish I never had that stupid baby!"
Monica, I want a divorce.
It was all too much for me. I ran to my room and cried for a while. My mom wished she never had me? My parents were getting a divorce. Why me? Why now? After I got over the shock, I realized that this was probably the best decision. My parents split up and I moved to another state with my dad, who eventually got married a few years later. By that time, I was already ready for college and I was super excited. I got into my dream university to study forensic science, and I'd never been happier. My dad, his new wife, and their baby accompanied me to the airport and I said goodbye for a few years. College was a blast, like I expected it to be. I met the man of my dreams, Damien. We were in the same class and I think it was love at first sight because the first time we saw each other, we both couldn't stop staring. After a few months of dating, we decided to move in together. He had his own apartment because, well, apparently his family was rich. But I didn't care too much about that. It was his personality I was attracted to. And also, he was hot. We were in our last year of college and I came back to the apartment feeling really sleepy because I just had a horrible exam. Damien greeted me at the door with a big smile.
Hey honey, someone special is joining us here for dinner tonight.
I started blushing, wondering if he was finally ready to introduce me to his parents. Were we really taking things to the next level? Who is it?
Come in and you'll see.
But before I could do that, a woman appeared behind him and flung her arms around me. My baby girl! My daughter! I missed you so much! Mom, what are you doing here? How did you even know where to find me? I asked your dad for your address. Come, let's sit down. There's so much I want to talk to you about. By the way, your boyfriend is gorgeous. Good job, she said while eyeing him from top to bottom. It kinda made me feel uncomfortable. Damien went into the kitchen and she sat next to me on the couch. Listen to me, Sarah Lee. I know I treated you badly all your life and I just came here to say that I'm sorry for all of that. The truth is, I was a bit jealous of you, but I've been going to therapy now and I realize that none of it was your fault. You didn't ask to be born beautiful and perfect. Heck, you didn't ask to be born at all. I'm so sorry for how I treated you, and I hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Then she took something out of her bag and showed it to me. It was the gift I'd given her that Mother's Day, except she'd gotten it fixed. I never threw it away. I'm so sorry about what I did. Please, accept me back into your life. I couldn't believe all of this, but I was a mature adult now, and I thought it'd be the best decision to forgive her. The three of us had lunch together, and it went quite well. Months passed after that weird day, and my mom and I kept in touch once in a while. Then, the best thing ever happened. Damien had finally introduced me to his parents at his house one Christmas Eve. His mom and dad made the cutest couple, and he had 2 younger sisters who seemed really cool. After we ate dinner, he gazed into my eyes, and then he proposed. It was the most romantic thing ever. His family was cheering and taking pictures, and I never felt happier. The whole family was involved in our wedding plans, and because I had recently made up with my mom, I asked her to join too. She came to Damien's family house a few times, and we all discussed the venue, bridal party, and all that boring wedding stuff. My mom decided to move closer so that she could be more supportive during that time, and I thought it was so kind of her. It seemed like she was really trying to make it up to me. Almost a year had passed, and our wedding was a month away when Damien came home fuming one evening. What's wrong, honey?
What's wrong? Everything is wrong.
Can you explain?
I went to my house to get something, and you'll never believe what I saw in the living room. My mom was at work, and I thought my dad was home alone, but...
But what?
Your mother really is a piece of garbage.
What? He took out his phone and showed me a picture of my mom wrapped in his dad's arms.
My dad is having an affair with your mom.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm so sorry. Damien was so angry that he sent the picture to his family group chat on WhatsApp. Yes, they actually had that. Weird, I know. Before I knew it, they wanted nothing to do with me. Can you believe it? I hadn't done anything, but apparently it was my fault because it was my mom. So what do we do now that your whole family hates me? Do we call off the wedding?
I don't know how to say this to you, Sarah Lee, but I think so. My mom won't talk to me, and she asked me to choose between you and her. I can't choose you over my mom, I'm sorry.
I was heartbroken, crushed, devastated. And for about 3 weeks, I locked myself in my room crying and refused to come out. When I could think straight again, I decided to fight for Damien because I really did love him and I wasn't going to allow my mom to ruin that for me. I went to his house and brought his mother flowers, chocolates, jewelry, and every other nice gift I could think of. I begged for her forgiveness and explained that I really had no relationship with my mom as a child and that she's always been trying to ruin everything for me. We spoke for about 5 hours, and she finally felt sorry for me. So, we're in the same boat, huh? She ruined my relationship. Well, I can't let her ruin yours, too. Let me get Damien. I think he's upstairs. Damien!
Yes, Mom?
Your fiancée is here. I like her again. Please get married.
Oh, hi, Sarah Lee. It's so nice to see you again. Mom, are you serious? You don't have a problem with us being together?
Not anymore.
Sarah Lee, I'm so sorry about what happened. Will you still consider marrying me?
Of course, Damien. I love you. So, my wedding was back on, and I was the happiest woman alive. The day arrived, and I couldn't contain my excitement as I got ready. I put on my beautiful dress, and my makeup artist was in the middle of an excellent job when... Hi, honey! Looks like I made it here just in time. What are you doing here, Mom? You're not invited. All you ever do is ruin everything. Please leave. Just then, Damien's mom walked in and smiled. She can stay. Just let her stay. Calm down. I tried to calm down as she escorted her out of the room. This was all too weird, but I tried not to think about it too much because it was supposed to be my big day. Anyway, the wedding was awesome. I walked down the aisle, said I do, had a dreamy kiss. And then it was on to the reception. After we cut the cake and did our dance, I went back to some of my friends from college. We took a few pictures together, then I went back to the main table to look for my husband, but he wasn't there. I thought he probably went to the bathroom, so I decided to go outside for some fresh air. I went out into the garden and heard a strange noise nearby. I am a curious person, so I walked towards the noise to see what it was. You'll never guess what I saw next. My mom had her arms around Damien's neck. He was holding her around her waist and they were kissing. Mom! Damien! They stopped and stared at me. I stormed back inside and told everyone what I'd just seen. My dad came over and gave me a hug and told me I could go home with him that evening. The best day of my life turned into an absolute nightmare because of that jealous, awful, disgusting mom of mine. I will never forgive her. Or Damien. I hate them both.